Good afternoon, everyone. Semangat pagi, Rahayu dan Rahajeng. Well wishes to all of you, and welcome to another sessions of Desa Dialogue at Headstream. I'm Marlowe Bandem, and today we are very grateful that we have an interesting conversation. And this conversation is on Bali Reclaimed, a compelling documentary series by the Rahayu Project. This series takes a deep dive into the environmental and cultural impacts of waste in Bali, highlighting the island's rich history of sustainable practices, the challenges posed by modern consumptions, and definitely the inspiring initiatives working towards a cleaner future. Today, we are here to delve into the ideas behind this project, the key messages of each episode, and the broader conversation it aims to spark. Our goal is to understand the impact of this initiative, the role of storytelling in driving environmental action, and how each of us can contribute to Bali's reclamation of sustainable traditions. We are honored to have two pioneers, the initiators behind Bali Reclaim and Rahayu Project, who will share their insights and experience. Without further ado, let's welcome Gary and Maria from Rahayu Project. Hi Gary, hi Maria, how are you?
Suksema
Suksemo
Gio
becek-becek,
Rahayu.
yeah.
Pasti sangat.
So thank you for making the time, amidst all your busy schedules with Rahayu Project. We just had a short conversation that Gary just came back from the rivers and Maria was still busy doing, editing for the project itself. And, I think it's about time, to have a little break and talk about your project. So when we talk about Bali Reclaim, it highlights the changes Bali is experiencing. One thing that comes to mind is actually, what is it that we are reclaiming? Is it our traditions, our environment, or our way of life? Which one is paramount?
Yeah, thank you so much, Marlo. It's such a pleasure to be able to speak to you about this and really to have Potato Head that have been behind this set series that we've documented. I think at Rahayu, first of all, Maria and I set up on a journey when we saw sort of our home island change. When rice fields are going completely missing and concrete villas are being built. I think it's one of the topic of discussions most people here, residents, are speaking about. And we're really seeing a change, after post-COVID that we haven't, that is so unlike anything that we've ever seen here on the island. Waste, however, has been probably one of the most visual topics that has, really guided my life story. I started environmentalism at the age of 14, cleaning beaches here in front of Potato Head when Potato Head was not yet built.
Wow.
I actually grew up in Batubulig in this village. But yeah, waste for us was the perfect connection point, really to visualize what Bali once was, organic, zaman dulu mungkin,
Yeah, betul. Tempo dulu.
very different to what it is right now.
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, well, I grew up in Bali. I came here the first time when I was 5. I was coming from Jakarta, the chaos. And I remember when we were first time arrived in Bali, I walked out of the airplane and walked into what was still once a small, chaotic airport. And the first thing that overwhelmed me was the incredible smell of dupa. I think it's an emblem of Bali. You do not smell dupa anywhere else around Indonesia or all around the world. And so with my family, I remember we would always go on picnics. We would always go on adventures, puras, temples all around Bali, to know more about their history, to know more about their meaning for Bali. And it's incredible, 17 years more or less that I have been actively living in Bali. And it's always incredible to see how this island is always beautiful and always incredibly rich with new stories and new things to learn about it. And so when I graduated um, uh, right before COVID, I went away and recently just came back 2023. So it was more or less 2 years ago. And it was post COVID. I did not recognize my home island. My house, that was back then surrounded by green lush rice fields, is now surrounded by white concrete villas that have nothing of Balinese within them. The
Yes.
in the
In the
back of the
backyards,
house,
yes.
yes, that was once full with banana leaves, organic waste. Now is all filled with plastic waste.
Wow.
Of course, when you film these beautiful ceremonies. You always ask the question. You're curious. You want to know the meaning behind them. You want to know why are you doing it. What is the meaning behind each ritual, each amenity that you use?
Yep.
And most of the times, the most jawaban yang paling sering itu adalah sing nawang, namula keto.
Oh my God.
I don't know. It's like that. We don't know where we're doing things. So how can you preserve something? How can you protect something? How can you keep doing something if you do not know why you're doing it? How can you protect something if you do not know the value behind it? And so through Bali Reclaimed, we want to reclaim that meaning of why we should protect Bali.
And for us, I mean, for me as a Balinese, I mean, we've been we grew up, we grew up, yeah, in terms of our spiritual devotion, how we have this connection to Mother Nature, to the universe, and to definitely the other beings. And one thing that transpires from that is our keenness in to express all that of devotion through artistic expressions, yeah. And we do the dance, we do the music, the gamelan, the theater, and one thing that I've always seen is, I mean, growing up in Bali, is that the Balinese do have this, thread of open heart, that we do have the capability to select, nominate those who care Bali. And in terms of the Bali Reclaim, how does, I mean, for you, both of you that have called Bali your island home, I mean, you've loved, cherished this island and shown this care, how was the not only your personal intentions, but how would it, how did you translate it to become something that would involve the community first, and then go back, from this open heart to this artistic expression to the spirituality in terms of the Bali Reclaim?
Alejandro.
Yeah, I think so. Most days I spend, cleaning the dirtiest rivers on Bali, the dirtiest dumps, the back of the tebas that have now become really plastic heavy. We also do that now in East Java in both Banyuwangi and Sidoarjo. But part of the action is how can you get that mind shift to happen? When you can't look away from plastics anymore. Bali by international media has been claimed as the island of plastic, where every single year, you get trash wave of plastic that are literally washing up all along the coast, the west coast of Bali, predominantly in Jimbaran, just south of the airport. Jimbaran acts like a giant bay, every year in Kendonganan, and year after year, our troops with Sungai Watch were literally in a war zone, trying to clean as much of it up as possible. Where I think we saw the real power of Rahayu was we were connecting with all of these Jiromankus, these Idopadadas, really listening to what is like the meaning behind the usage of plastic in more of a spiritual, ceremonial setting, and how can we really change that perspective and not continue the way that it's going? Because yes, you mentioned that Bali has always been welcome and open to international tourists, to foreigners, but now more than ever, it's coming to the point where people don't want to come back to Bali with how dirty it's become in terms of the plastic pollution. So that's really where we saw this opportunity of telling the story, ideally telling it in a 4-part series.
Yes.
Of the actual way that it once was. Ideally we can stream Bali Reclaimed to as many anak SMP, SMA to really see what their parents lived in a Bali before plastic.
Well, the first episode basically commenting the guru, the priests and everything.
Yes.
One of the priests that we interviewed for this series, seorang guru, a guru, he mentioned that it is the source of most problems is the lack of knowledge. And so there is actually, I mean, for the young generation, there is this lack of awareness that there are alternatives apart from plastics. There is the lack of knowledge of how to dispose of it. Let's say that the first episode we're encapsulating the fact that there is this lack of knowledge before plastic bags. That actually before plastic bags there were banana leaves.
Yes.
And so within this episode, we show that there are alternatives. Before, plastic bags were banana were before yes, thank you. Before plastic bags there were kisa, coconut bags, bags made out of coconut leaves. The plastic bottles that what nowadays is a plastic bottle before was a bamboo that was cut
Yes.
and
Yes.
made
Before
a
the age of tumblers.
yes, exactly. Made a hole inside in the middle, and they would just use it to collect their water from the river and drink from it. And the jajans before, all the snacks were wrapped in banana leaves. So dulu, before zaman dulu, we would eat from the we would eat the snack and just dispose of it naturally. And so basically there was everything came from the earth back then and was then brought back to the earth without harming it.
Are these still practiced in Bali? Right. I mean, these days, coming back to all these philosophies, these teachings.
This is actually interesting. There are still some people that use it, but it's incredible how this is only maybe one generation ago. 20, 30 years ago that plastic was introduced to Bali, but it almost seems as if it was like ages ago. Most of the people that we interviewed also, they did not know that kisa, coconut leaves bags existed. Yeah, they did not know how to make them. It was difficult for us to
kisa is not only for the roosters for cockfighting.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So within this first episode, it was partly a little bit. We thought that the older generation still remembered, but it's incredible how they are still. Things have moved so forward, and it almost feels as if everyone has forgotten what Jaman Dulu was.
Yeah.
One of the things that we love to do on some of our travels is to go to like a traditional pasar and to look for alternatives to plastic, to see, to get inspired by what was once before plastic. When shooting this episode, it was like, okay, let's go to Pasar Sukawati.
Yes.
What evidence can we find that still exists, from the keranjangs to any organic material basically that once Balinese used instead of plastic. And kiso is that one tas, that one bag that is not anymore in use, unfortunately. People may use them far out in the mountains, but so that's really like remembering a Bali before plastic, a Bali that is so cinematic to the visual eye. You don't see the tas mera, the tas zebra. Everything's organic. Everything is so beautiful
and blended in nature.
Yeah, so blended in this beautiful paradise. And I think that if we are to there's a ban on single-use plastic bags that is not really implemented all around the island. It's implemented in modern retail stores, but we really see the impact of it. So how do we even go back to that?
Yes.
And so part of our discussions with some of the Jiromankus, some of the gurus, some of the Ido Penandas is that they're like almost attaching their vision of what they remember, but and they want to come back to it. And it's just a matter of how do we do that? And I think it's almost, sometimes it feels like a lost battle.
But actually, we had a hopeful response from the public after our video. And that was actually the fact that a lot of people reached out because they were asking, where can I learn that? Where can I buy that?
Yeah.
So I think if there is awareness, if there is knowledge that there is an alternative material, if there is just knowledge, there can be change. There is hope.
So how would Rahayu Project make this, philosophical concept, and this understanding in tangible ways? How would you supply? Does it necessarily be Rahayu Project's responsibility, with this awareness now?
I think it's a interesting one, obviously, because we wear multiple hats on our day-to-day. I run Sungai Watch, which is a full river cleanup organization to clean rivers and stop plastic pollution before it goes in the ocean. We're speaking to hundreds of school students every week, teaching them about what was life before plastic. So this is really where there's a really a cross junction of mission. And with one of the gurus, Jiro Mangkudalam, that is in the first video, we're doing workshops with them, teaching people, local communities, how to make a kiso. Maria has a school. She'll also be teaching some of the students in her school how to do that. So it's just remembering the ancient ways,
in order for them to inspire.
Yeah.
and then using social media to maybe remember like the Bali bag.
Yeah, sure. Is there any tutorial available for us to look into?
Coming soon.
Okay, nice,
How
nice.
to make kisa? Yes, absolutely. Yes.
So I mean, we're talking about the community involvement, and we do understand that a lot of things in Bali, especially lately with the advancements of technology, that change is often driven or happen at the grassroots level. And from the first series, from banana leaves to plastic bags, I see how Rahayu Project is going straight to the communities. And in your experience, how are these local communities responding to these efforts? Let's say when you talk about the priests and the pemangku, the temple priests, they are the heads, yeah. And now we're talking about the body, yeah, where there's this, where communities involve a lot of parties. How do you maintain, or do you see a disconnect between the conceptual to the practice?
I think based on what actually just looking at it from the perspective of them, because also me, differently from Gary, I don't work within the waste world, so I'm just trying to look at that from that perspective. We do not know, most of us, especially the young generation, do not know a world without plastic. We were born with within this world of plastic. We do not know any alternatives. As I said before, we do not know that before plastic bags, there were banana leaves, there were coconut bags. And so how do we shift basically this this not knowing, and how do we use social media? How do we use our skills as filmmakers to raise awareness about this? So at least there is not only an awareness, but also there is this need, this want and this need for change. The lack of awareness that there is an alternative, the lack of awareness of how to dispose of plastic correctly, there is just lack of knowledge. So how can we ensure that there is knowledge? How do we share our knowledge? How does Gary share his knowledge?
I think no. It's not. I mean, but no. I mean, there's been a study a couple of years ago. I think through the World Bank, when that like 70% of Indonesians don't know that plastic is bad for the environment. 70%. That's like a huge number. Obviously, so much has happened since. I think this is like from 2018. But I think the real. I think when you're speaking about the mind being the pemangkus,
Yes.
the people being the body. One of the, last year when we went Sembayang in Besake, which most Balinese do every year.
Yes.
That's really where I think you see that ability of change. A couple of years ago when Pak Gubernur Koster, banned single-use plastics, single-use plastic bags in Besake, it was a moment of hope. The plastic bags were banned. You weren't allowed to walk into the gates of the Pura with plastic bags. Last year and 2 years ago, everything was forgotten. Some of the shots in the second episode, looking at the instant perspective, really shows that. We went with Maria to shoot on a couple of the days, and it was a plastic flowing market on the heads of the Balinese, bringing in with no awareness and no knowledge that this is really impacting our beautiful Bali, our beautiful planet.
On the heads and on the grounds of the sacred Besake.
After the usage of plastic and a couple of seconds of usage, unfortunately the disposal is not there. So we are trying to connect with some of the Jiromankus from Pura Besake to see how we can put that pressure again to really showcase, because I think it will be a ripple effect. We see incredible adats, desa adats, like in
Tenganan.
Tenganan, that are
Yes.
really pushing what is theirs and what is tradition, and doing incredible initiatives. But this is not yet everywhere. And I think if you want to hit as much Balinese as possible, you have to go back to the mother temple and show what it needs to be like. Again, who are we to influence these decisions? We need the power of these Joromankus that need to take it into their own hands. One of our heroes who's featured in episode 1 is Pakman, Pakman Murito. He's one of our Sungai warriors. He's been working with us from day 1 of Sungai Watch.
Yes.
And he's been on a war of himself to ban the ferment from every sesajen, and really teaching ibus in his local
Yes. The
community.
candies. Yeah.
The candies,
Yes, yeah.
exactly. Because every sesajen used to have, every offering used to have a little biscuit, a little bit of sweet to give to the gods as a
Or the candy, I'm sorry, it was actually tabu. Kayu manis.
Yes.
That was the candy back in the days. You don't need
Mhm.
plastic wrapped candies. You can just use little jajans or what's kayu manis? Sugar cane.
Yes.
Pieces of sugar cane.
So how do you tackle this situation where it seems that everybody is taking it for granted? It's all about convenience, comfort, and we do believe. I understand that the Balinese do have this flexibility. Well, if I can get sugar canes, I'll just replace it with candies. But how do we emphasize that? Maybe we should tell them that it's not what the gods want. How would you convey this idea that it's about time that Bali needs to take a step back, take a pause, and look, beyond the practicality? Because I've seen the efforts of Rahayu Project from episode 1, episode 2, and I mean there's a lot of things that concerns philosophical, but the challenge is definitely, how would we make everyone connect with this idea?
Absolutely. And I think again, we're no ones to be speaking out to the crowds. We can only do however much we can, not being Balinese, but we can empower the voices and the messages of so many incredible people that have a voice,
Yes.
have a mind, have influence. One of our characters from another video is Ibu Ratu from Pemucutan.
Yeah.
And she has such strong words, almost putting on the point on force.
Yes.
Almost to the point of screaming against pedandas that have lost the ability to prioritize what really is needed for the gods. I think when you look at Bali today, do we really need such big offerings? Do we need to put so much money into ceremonies? When things can
Yes.
still be
You're
simple.
talking about the essence now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's really a conversation that needs to be more philosophical. It's a lot of behind the doors when the camera is shut off, and we can continue conversating with some of these Jiromankus to try to get their real approach on things. They have so much more wisdom than we do. We just have to listen to them and to try to empower their messages so
Yes.
people can really, really hear them.
Tell our audience about these, local initiatives, especially the local heroes. It seems that there's not enough voices from Bali to speak, to take action about Bali. But in terms of the Rahayu Project and the Bali Reclaimed initiative, there's a lot of Balinese, especially that have a strong idea, resilience, and enthusiasm to support this. Tell us more about them.
I think, in the last 10 years, 15 years, we've seen such a growth in the environmental movement, from individual Kepala Desas, so head of villages in Gianyar, really stepping up, being inspired by this incredible initiative called Merah Putih Hijau, from Eco Mantra. They're a sustainable consultancy that works with people like Potato Head to give, eco environmental solutions. And, we've seen such a big upscale of these heroes at the governmental legislative level to step up. But then, we're seeing individual actions of people all around Bali that learn how to compost. That
Yes.
especially in COVID, when it was such an enlightening moment for so many people to look at ourselves, look at our reflection of what our own individual impacts are on the ground, on the environment that we live in.
Yes.
It's natural, when people witness plastic pollution, when people witness literally a plastic wave washing up on their beach, it's hard not to do anything and not to act. This last rainy season, just for the last 4 months, we've been
Yes.
busy with our troops cleaning Kinonganan every single day. And it's the first time that we literally have thousands of people mobilize, coming on the beach, wanting to help. This is people that are here on vacation. This is, true Balinese that have power, that are part of the Mankus in Besake. And I think it's just so diverse. And that's really the power of the people of really stepping up.
True. COVID was such a, strange and changing times, yeah, because suddenly, as we don't have any clear direction of what life would be during COVID, there's a lot of talk that, Bali, we don't need mass tourism. Let's go for premium tourism. Let's go back to agriculture. I mean, there's this sudden discourse that people suddenly realize that we are so dependent to our environment, and that only lasts just for a while.
But
you know,
I think it's a moment of hope
Uh-huh.
to look around us.
True.
And for me, it was a blessing in disguise. That's when the beaches were closed. I couldn't go with my friends to the beach and go surfing. I can go and run and do my daily run. Okay, so then
Yeah.
I get a bunch of friends to come to the rivers and start cleaning, and then that's how I started Sungai Watch with my brother and sister. So there's obviously silver
Yes,
linings in
yes.
every mass problem. There's been other incredible initiatives that have really risen from COVID. Urban compost is another incredible
Yes.
initiative that composts waste at picking up at household levels, and Bayu, who leads it, is really incredible. So you have many different levels of people waking up, wanting to be a part of the solution,
Yeah.
and I think really realizing that it's time to turn up solutions.
Sure, and with that, it means that not only that we do really need to activate, all the helix, that we're like, we love to speak out about, when we have, communities, businesses, academics, governments, yeah, and initiative NGOs to come together, but it seems that. Not everyone is in the same footstep. It seems that nobody has the endurance because what Bali Reclaimed, Sungai Watch, and definitely what is being documented and shared by Rahayu Project is all about endurance. It's not about sprinting. How do you find the balance between your personal life and being part of community, leading communities, giving examples, and being part of this development in terms of networkings in with the governments, with the legislations, and with the global society. Tell us more about this because I do believe that this is not this could be a beacon of hope, as you said, but it needs support.
I think, yeah, the sprinting and going as fast as possible and turning up the volume is, maybe the youth in me that thinks, that everything is possible and we can change things around. But there's definitely the moments where, you look at yourself or you look at the impact that you're having and you realize that, maybe the hundreds of rivers that we clean every day, when plastic literally wash up again and get stuck on one of our barriers, and we're not moving fast enough. And I think as much as we want to
Yeah.
see change, as much as we want to retaliate and
Yes.
see people power, change is slow. And especially when you start thinking about the mind and everybody's personal behavior, it's much easier to go to the market and get the bunkus, the wrapping out of plastic than not. It's much easier to take a plastic than take your reusable bag from home and remember to have brought it in the first place. So we're fighting a war against our own
Yes.
personal mindset. And that's what is the most difficult part of that. I think in terms of balancing, it's always about being surrounded by people that, are fighting this. I didn't know that I was going to meet Maria and that we were going to start this project together.
That's beautiful.
Another thing to get even more busy. But I also work with my brother and sister.
Yes, Kelly and Sam,
Kelly and Sam. So that as well, it's like, every time we have family lunches or family dinners once a week, it's always about plastic pollution. So I think it's, we try to go in the pristine areas of Bali as much as we can. Go up north, choose a random gunung, a random mountain, and really forest bathe and enjoy the beauty that is Bali, the beauty that is untouched.
Yeah, and that is actually when we actually realize, when we're on these trips, that we actually realize that how beautiful Bali is and what is actually worth protecting about Bali. Bali is not the beach clubs, the resorts, that's not only Bali, the landfills. Bali is also the beautiful forest, the beautiful land, and the beautiful temples and culture that you see. And so Bali is worth protecting. So how can we all work together and keep Bali
Yes, yes. I mean, definitely, there's, this, I'm fine. So the sense of purpose is there, everybody seems to understand that. But I think we do need, numbers to tell, the public that there's a sense of urgency. Like a couple of months ago, I was like 1 month or 2 months ago that, Sungai Watch, Rahayu Project was on the grounds in, yes, Sungai Watch, on the grounds of Jimbaran Bay and, doing these efforts of cleaning the beach. And suddenly there was a lot of moments that I see. I'm not against people being excited to be part of this for their to fulfill that, to satisfy their sense of needs of publication. But I think there should be more. How would you encourage or enlighten let's say supporters, to really be on the ground, to be the troopers. Yeah.
I think that's a great question. It's how do you move from, just being an admirer, coming once to clean up, wanting to maybe clean your guilt. I'm kidding. But we see that all along. We see massive greenwashing campaigns happening with some of the corporates that we try to put a spotlight on. Every year, Sungai Watch releases the list of the top polluters, not in Bali alone, but in Bali and Java. This year, for the first year, for the past 4 years, Danone Aqua was number one. This year, because our data has gone a little bit more wider, so we have more barriers now in Java, in Sidoarjo, and in Banyuwangi, and Wings made it on top of the list as the number one. So there's so much push that we're trying to do to bring national government into the conversation, to really try to put a tax on producers that put that added pressure. But we really can't do it alone. And that's where we need people power. That's where we need consumers to start to massively rethink what we use. We've seen successes in other countries where the people boycott a certain product, and then that has massive impact on the decision makers that run these FMCGs to change packaging. When you look at so much of the plastic packaging in traditional markets, and what we find on the beach in Kenonganan or anywhere in any river, it's all 30% is plastic bags, single-use plastic bags. So that's why we really wanted to put a big focus on it. But so much of it is also the multi-layered plastic packaging. The single-use, mono-use, shampoo, detergent, instant coffees. And how can you really move away from that? I think we all have, again, a role to play, to look back at our plastic consumption and maybe look at ourselves in the mirror the next time you have the ability to look into your fridge and analyze how many plastic you have in the fridge that could be replaceable for reusables, and really think about yourself. The main issue is that, yes, awareness, knowledge is not there, but also infrastructure is hugely lacking. Over 60% of waste here in Bali is mismanaged, ending up in an open dump, openly burnt, and it's probably also on its way to Suwon, our one central landfill here in South Bali, where, you know, literally you have, for the last few months, you've had hundreds of trucks lining up, trying to get an entry. It's completely overfilled. And the Ministry of Environment that we were sitting with last week in Jakarta, you know, wants to close down every single open dump. So there's, more than ever, there's a real question as to where does our waste go, and what do we like? What are we supposed to do as consumers with the waste that we consume? But you know, the biggest solution that we can provide is to really start reducing our overall consumption.
What were the response of these big corporations, you know, that made the list?
Day one of posting our impact report this year.
Yes.
Wings emailed us saying,
yes, for our audience, you know, do come visit the platform of Sungai Watch, and then they can download the impact report for the past 4 years.
But Wings did reach out 24 hours after posting saying, please remove our logo. So
just that?
I'm not sure if they're going to sue us. That's still to see. They can sure go ahead and we'll have all the data there to prove. But I think obviously, you know, we're now starting to get a lot of public traction. This report is then made made shareable to the media. So if the media wants to pick it up, it's even better to put that added pressure on them. But the truth,
I mean, also for us, you know, for us consumers, for, you know, for the public, you know, to understand that this is not only about cleanup, but, you know, at the end, it's about, you know, correcting the mismanagement and the processing, which, you know, comes to the point. Tell us more about your processing plans, because I do believe that the operations now is not only about cleanups, because we do need, you know, the real solution is actually, just as you said, you know, where is our, you know, waste going to be?
Absolutely. I think, you know, it's like we started cleaning one river. So this is in the midst of COVID. I would bring the trash in my parents' garage. Very quickly, my parents told me that it was kind of stinky and I needed to move away from it, from the garage. Took a little piece of one ara in Tumabayu. Now we have, I think, 11 stations. We hire 155 people full time. And every day we collect 5,000 kilos of plastic that we sort into 30 different types of plastics. And each, you know, we're trying to find a viable business model for it. We started a new entity a year ago called Sungai Design to recycle plastic, low value plastics into one-of-a-kind furniture, and really to be able to fund back the river efforts. So, you know, just like this nice DJ booth here at Potato Head, we also make very similar things from the low-value plastics that can't be recycled. But really to try to push, you know, and the truth is that, unfortunately, you know, you'll see on our third episode that comes out next week, that plastic has value if you recycle it, if you properly bring it towards the right value chain. We're trying to, at Sungai Watch, we're trying to deal with the worst type of plastic out there. This is plastic that is sat on a river for 15 years, degraded on the beach, maybe floated from one island to another, because we want to show that you can do something with any type of waste out there. But this is a last resort, actually. It's all about reduction first. It's all about coming back to the kiso. It's all about our Jiromankus banning
the cool kisa,
The ultimate dream is that every upacara in Bali, you have the Jiromanku dalang that literally, you know, states at the end of every upacara, or even before, you know, it says dilarang pakai plastic.
True. I mean, the spiritual leaders. That's one, you know, important aspect of the ecosystem. But when we talk about Bali, we also talk about the artists and the artisans, which comes to my next question is, first of all, let's say I have, you know, I've collected these plastics. The public does the same, and then can we bring it to your processing plants and learn how to make it in terms of arts? And how we could involve artists as part of this movement?
I mean, I wish we could say yes. We just start dealing with piles of mountains of plastics in our own warehouses from the rivers. But that's definitely, you know, more on the open source side that we really wish that we can get into. So we do are actually launching after Lebaran in early April our first community center, and that's fully based on doing workshops with Jero Mangku Dalang that does the weaving of the kiso,
Okay.
as much as
Okay.
artist initiatives. So yes, that's definitely a yes. Just wait until after Lebaran.
So Lebaran and Nyepi comes by the end of March.
Make sure you keep all the plastic you use on Nyepi and Lebaran. And
I
bring it to
will.
Sungai
I
Wash.
will definitely. I start at my, at home in the household and everything. You spoke about open source and business model. Yeah. Does the business model come part of the open source knowledge that we can access, as the public? Because the thing is, the fact is that not everybody knows what to do with all of these waste. We do have the love for the environment. We do care. We apa istilahnya itu, we try to recycle, but at the end we just give up because we don't see tangible solutions or results. Can that be part of
Yeah, I mean,
something that you can share with the public?
I think definitely, and there's already tools out there to really look into how to recycle plastics. Similar to Potato Head, other groups on the island, like we do. That Potato Head have a press in the other room that we're looking at. But also Yaya Sankaki Kita that have made these sheets, I believe.
Okay.
That are also featured on episode 3, Reclaimed Bali. As much as Sungai Watch, we've all been part of this open source ecosystem called Precious Plastic. And they've been sort of pioneers at the space. But, and you can go online, Google Precious Plastic, and you'll be very inspired, just as most of us have been 4 or 5 years ago.
Yep.
But the truth is it's not as easy as you think to recycle, because it stems from the idea that you have 30 different types of waste that are readily available. How do you go about separating them? Sometimes when we are separating our white krasan, our white hard plastic, we realize that there's polypropylene, high density polyethylenes, all of these 7 different types that become very crazy and difficult to even look at. You're trying to touching, you're trying to figure out which one is which, and trust me, our teams do get quite frustrated with each different type. But then it's the washing process that is quite very, very difficult, especially if you're pulling from dirty rivers. And for Sungai Design, we had to get an investment to get bigger machines. If you want to get recycling at scale, you need funding.
Yes.
And recycling can be very expensive when it comes down to being nitty gritty with each different type of plastic, with color, washing. So 100%, there needs to be a lot more of a movement. But in a way, Bali has become a stage for the world. With hotels like Potato Head, the people that I mentioned before, there's a real movement happening here that have inspired people all around the world to come to Bali and learn. And that's really, really incredible for the island. So how can we use that momentum and scale it up? We operate in 5 kabupatens out of the 8 in Bali. There's still a little bit of expansion projects that need to happen, but how can we get this everywhere? The biggest issue is infrastructure.
Yes.
And that needs to be a priority.
Definitely. Bali Reclaimed is showcasing all of these corporations networking, and we do have associations for restaurants and hotels. Is there any chance that we would have an associations of environmental agencies like Sungai Watch, all of these initiatives to come together?
There's a couple out there. One called Kementerian Bali Reclaimed.
Okay.
And it's a bunch of initiatives as well that speak about the environment and meet monthly. So you definitely are seeing a big movement of people
coming
wanting
together,
so that the agenda that we bring to government is on the same line.
Okay.
So that it moves towards separation at source, meaning making waste separation bins available everywhere around the island. That's one of the key priorities. Because you walk around Bali, there's absolutely no bins, and that's one of the issues as well. But to make sure that there's an actual ecosystem and a flow, so that's I think also a big priority as well.
Yeah, are you pro bin or against bins?
Yeah, you look at cities like Singapore, and
Yeah,
there's different no bins. One of the projects that we just started is actually school bins for local SMPs and SDs, where typically your average SMP in Bali will dump their waste in the back of the school or burn it after school hours or even during school hours. And imagine that impact
Yeah.
of the fumes.
Yeah, the fumes
So
to the quality of education.
so one of the first instinct is set up bins, set up a bin system to pick up and to collect, because that's just the first phase.
Yeah.
For a phase without bins will require a
Yes.
couple steps.
True, true. So that's gonna be, for the Bali Reclaimed, there's gonna be only 4 series, up to today. Yeah, so it has been produced for the first and the second one.
The first and second
Second-
have been released.
Yes.
The third and fourth are going to be released.
So is there, tell us the vision in terms of the visual documentations about, Bali Reclaimed by Rahayu Project, and where it's gonna, yeah. Is there any plan to make it into a longer docudrama series or,
Well, I think definitely until now, yes, we have at Rahayu we have mainly produced reels, so short format. But
Yes.
it has always been our dream to also scale up to long format. So definitely there will be a long format about this, and we're super excited to announce this. It's actually going to be our first long format.
Congratulations. Yeah, selamat. Yeah.
In the beginning, we were actually a little bit, as filmmakers, we were actually a little bit confused on how to start. Because most of the times, like these reels that we post are just
Yes.
snippets of a longer version.
Yes.
There's way more
Yes.
to the theme that we actually post about, to the topic. And so, but then we have understood that within nowadays world, the best way to engage, the best way to capture attention is through short format.
So it was a conscious decision to.
So it was a conscious decision, absolutely, to start from reels,
Yes.
especially because we want to capture the attention of everyone, also the younger generation,
Yes.
generation especially.
Yes.
And seeing that the younger generation nowadays has very short attention span, working with children, I know this very very well. And so we thought that reels would be the best way to start. And then the next way is long format, where we dive deeper into the problem. And
So, well, that's one future plan already accomplished, the long format. Congratulations. Can't wait for
Thank you, Potato Head.
episode 3 and 4. Yeah. It's such a, tight and clear and concise production. The visual is engaging, the message is spot on, it really, in terms of music, from my background, it rattles and shakes, in all the right places, and hopefully this can, be something that can be compiled and distributed by, the public, translated in multiple languages so people can see, which comes to the struggles of financing, of funding, you mentioned just before, it started, from love, and then you brought all of these ways back home. Mom and dad was a bit supportive at first, and then after that, man, the house is getting too stinky. Let's think about this and that. So now we're talking about, finance, yeah, funding. So how do you find, what's the hardship in terms of funding for Rahayu Project?
I think until September of last year, we launched February last year, 2024. We were self-funded, and we were trying to understand how to make this a non-commercial, because it is not a non-commercial movement. We are just doing this because we deeply love Bali, and we hope that through our videos, first of all, the Balinese are reminded of their different traditions, of the different aspects within their island.
Yes.
So they learn the preciousness, the value behind Bali, and they learn to protect it. And so hopefully this might inspire them to protect it,
Yeah.
and also for the foreigners, for the
Yes.
guests that come here.
Yes, that's the other part of it. Yeah.
Yes, so they also know that Bali is not just party, beach clubs, resorts. Bali is actually the culture, and there are different aspects. And Bali's culture is so magical and interesting. Introduce them to the real Bali, so they actually respect it. And so we finally got our first sponsor last September, and Yes, I think for now it has been a little bit difficult, um, because a lot of companies reached out to
Mm-hmm.
to greenwash, to to speak well about what they're doing and
Mm-hmm.
everything. While behind it,
Yes.
it's all
Yes.
just publicity,
Yes.
and so we're trying to be very mindful. So with who
Yes.
we pick,
Yeah. So what's involved in that curatorial process, you know?
we do a
In
lot of research
mm,
before.
yes.
I think our knowledge of Bali and allows us to already know sort of which brands and we believe are aligned on our mission.
Mm-hmm.
Just like within our friend circle, there's some incredible businesses on this beautiful island that
Mm-hmm.
use the Bali brand that are all for the island that want to give back to Bali. We have another series at the moment all about the world of bamboo, with Ibuku, Bamboo India, and Bamboo Pure.
Yes.
That's a really exciting series that we're currently also releasing.
Mm.
We have another series around water, Agama Tirto,
Wow.
with Waterbomb.
Okay.
Sayan is, has done incredible to accomplish one of the most sustainable water parks in the world, and has made that his mission to bring people from outside to really learn about the flow of how do we circulate our water.
Mm.
There's very, very, very other little
Yes.
water parks around the world that are able to recycle all of the water used. Um, and then some other series
But
with
yeah,
other
we're
partners.
actually very excited about this. Where we love what we're doing here with the potato head bamboo, but also very excited about this water series because it's encapsulating about we're talking about agama tirta,
Mm-hmm.
and that is actually the main belief here in Bali,
Yes.
where everything revolves around water. If you see all of the ceremonies here in Bali, they all use tirta, air suci,
Mm-hmm.
holy water, and it's actually just going back to one of the interviews that we had by seeing like all of the it's incredible how it is deeply respected. Water is deeply respected, but it is not respected. We see all of the waterways, the subaks, the rivers, the ocean
Yeah.
is all filled with plastic. And so within one of the interviews, we interview one Idarasi, and he says this powerful thing. Is it by only by doing this that we are respecting water?
Mm-hmm.
This when the Balinese pray, they do this.
Yes.
So is it by only doing
Yes.
this that we
Yes.
actually respect water? I think that's such a powerful thing to
Wow.
say.
I mean, this is really ties in what you have been doing, Gary, because cleaning up the sewers, the rivers, and everything actually comes back to the idea that there's only one source of water in Bali, which comes back to the mountains. Yeah. And have you learned a lot from the Subaks, or the Subak has learned a lot from you? Tell us more, before we, come to an end of this discussion, this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think, just with the entire Subak system and how
Mm-hmm.
intricate it is, even, up to 15 years ago, not as much now, depending on which adat you live in.
Okay.
The fact that you could only build and you needed the Ijin from the Subak because
Mm.
any construction has an
Yes.
ultimate impact on the water table. The way that it flows, the way that it's connecting the highest mountain of Bali, from
Yes.
Batu Karo to
Yes.
Karangasem,
From
Siliman,
Batur, yeah.
all the way to down here in South Bali. We're all
Mm-hmm.
from one system. That's really, really, really incredible. But I think naturally how, Bali is, you meet one Pekase that has a completely different way of thinking than another.
Yes. Yes.
It's it's the human mind again that we're fighting against, and I think I'm learning
Yes.
every day, to be honest,
Yes.
from that aspect.
Okay. So, um, before we end, I mean, I'm deeply inspired. My children too. Not only that, they have been also been on the ground, and I mean, what is the one thing, for both of you that you have seen in your journey that is captured by Rahayu Project that gives you, coming back to what Gary mentions about hope, that Bali can reclaim, what it has lost?
I think it's the that power of community that is so strong here on Bali, and it's reminding and making it so relatable. Like some of the other Rahayu videos, we're looking at the rule of the coconut tree, and how we're not allowed to build above.
Mm.
And it's like some of these sentimental stories that get your heart right away.
Yes.
Whether you've just arrived on the island or you're living here your entire life, how can we connect to the people through these emotional, touching ways so that action can actually happen? We turn community awareness into real movements. And so that's what we're really trying to do, and we're just beginning in our very humblest ways, but it's truly incredible that we have people like Potato Head again and so many other supporters that are allowing us to keep on telling these stories. But the truth is that we need thousands and thousands of stories.
What about you, Maria?
No, I was just commenting what Gary said before about Gotong Royong. So how can we turn the spirit of Gotong Royong that is already in Bali, that is already part of Bali, that is actually one of the most special things about Bali, into actual change? And one thing that actually inspired me also about this bamboo series that we're working on, one of the episodes is about bamboo architecture, and it's about how when we're learning about how there are different types of bamboos.
Yes.
Banyak sekali jenis bambu.
Betul.
Ada bambu petung, which is the big one that is super strong. Bambu bambu tali, which is the small that is very flexible and bendable. And it is the combination of all of these bamboos that create a strong, standing, beautiful building. And so how can we all work together in our small little world and actually bring back Bali to be Rahayu?
Wow, I mean,
Rahayu jero.
Rahayu.
Engkene.
I mean, for me, seeing both of you, definitely both of you are a couple, but for this conversation, both of you are so smitten to the idea of, Bali, this magic realism that we have here, and I can feel, your passions, your desires, and that's contagious. So hopefully, all our audience can feel that too. Yeah, it's. I know the struggles, I can only imagine, yeah, because I've heard stories that people do come for the efforts of Sungai Watch, but, once they see what they're dealing with, they said, oops, maybe this is not for me. Yeah, maybe just 1-2 pictures and I'm gone,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Change does not need to happen by you going into the river. Change can happen at
True,
home.
true,
There are
true.
different types
Yes,
of change. So how can we
yes.
all play our role?
So please enlighten us with all the channels of information that both of you have, so the audience can access them. The social media,
So,
the websites. Yeah.
We don't have a website yet.
Belum.
That's coming soon.
Terlalu sibuk bikin series.
But Rahayu Project.
Yes.
The handle is the Rahayu
Rahayu.
Project.
Okay.
Project,
Yeah.
That's on Instagram.
Instagram.
Yes.
We're mostly on Instagram. but
Okay, cool.
Coming soon on multiple platforms.
On YouTube too. Netflix, hopefully.
So yeah, so definitely if you go to the Rahayu Project, you will definitely get all the links to both of you and the other platforms that you have been working with. And ladies and gentlemen, I do believe we have come to an end of this discussion. It's lovely. I mean, I can continue on and on. Just not only listening to both of you. I mean, I love strong dreamers. Big dreamers, and I see that in both of you. Hopefully, I will definitely support, personally, and hopefully this was also inspire all of us, because I mean, this has reminded me gitu that the reclaiming of Bali is not just about looking back, but it's also about taking action on how we want to shape the future. And with that, whether it's through preserving cultural traditions, reducing plastic waste, or restoring our rivers, every effort counts. So I would like to end that change happens when ideals, systems, and actions align. Let's make sure Bali is not just remembered for what it was, but celebrated to what it can become. Ladies, Rahayu, matur suksema.
Thank you so much, Marlo.
It's good fun. Good fun.